Hello, hello.
Welcome to a much more sober edition of Two Dads Talking. Actually, this is episode 61, so the apologetic edition was 2 episodes ago.
That's true.
Now that
I'm
we have two in the can, it's throwing me off a little bit. I'm not used to being ahead of release dates again. It's kind of weird.
yeah, yeah, that's true. I'm getting all sorts of thrown off now with what did we talk about last week? Now, I'm also trying to really focus on like we are not gonna go an hour and a half this time. We're already late. We're not gonna do it. We can't do it.
No, tonight will be a much shorter episode. We're going to condense this. We'll keep this one much more respectful for everybody. Because last week I basically yelled at Doug for 2 hours, and we had, I would say, our strongest disagreement and argument since the Alabama IVF episode. I
Yeah. Yeah, that was long.
Yeah.
I
So
wasn't uncomfortable or anything, but it was just long.
before we get started, I'd like to wish, by the time we release this, a happy belated birthday to our patron Charles. He actually has a lot of very exciting news, and hopefully we can share that in the podcast soon. But we
Ooh.
spoke to him recently, and some good stuff is happening for our listeners, and that makes us happy. Happy belated birthday, Charles!
Happy birthday, Charles.
All right, so we got the NFL draft happening right now in real time as we record.
Mm-hmm.
We just had Easter pass, and I don't know what exactly we're going to talk about tonight because we didn't really hem it down. But
Let's do our updates.
let's do some updates.
And then let's talk about your Easter stuff you wanted to talk about, and then we can pick the Cluely one or the Bingo movie or whatever. We'll just see how it goes.
All right.
I feel like 35 minutes and I'm just running away.
All right, give me your updates. Let's go.
So my update is from 2 episodes ago, and you asked me what's the worst thing I ever did while drunk, and I was like, "Oh, I don't know. I saved someone's life, I guess, because I'm such a conceited jerk." Apparently, that was the first thought that I had. I did actually, when I was listening to it later, realize that one time I did hump a cop car. There was
Wow.
there was no cop in it. And it was safety in
Wow.
numbers. There were like six of us. It was in a dealership lot, probably, just recently repaired. And we were some version of sheets to the wind, and someone was just like bet someone else to hump the car, and then we all took turns just rocking the car. This was when was this? 15 years ago? Something like that. 13 years
Wow. So
ago?
this isn't even
Yeah.
like, 19 or 20-year-old Doug. This is
No, this is
this is
this is
adult
a
Doug.
this is adult. Yeah, like I someone gave me a degree and said go get him, Tiger, and that's what I did.
Wow.
There was a little bit of a delay in between those two events, but you get the idea. So yeah, that was an interesting night. That was the first and only time I'd ever been to a strip club, and it confirmed for me why I don't go to strip clubs and never wanted to. And then we ended up walking along the street and had that be one of our extracurricular activities between that and the next bar. And then I ended up sleeping on somebody's floor, and the one guy who took the guest bedroom kicked me in my foot so hard that he actually woke me up out of wherever I was, and my I basically limped on my foot for the next 2 days. But I got to sleep in a bed instead of just like on the floor for the last like 3 hours, so that was nice.
Wow.
That was it. Not that interesting.
Thank you for never humping my police car. I appreciate that.
We don't know that. It could have been shipped here for work.
Not back then, not 15 years ago.
I can dream.
Uh,
So yeah,
oh,
that's my update. That's probably more of like at least it counts as at least the most crass thing I've done. Probably
okay.
something that could have gotten me in stupid trouble.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's pretty crass. Yeah, that's
yeah.
it's not too terrible.
No, no, it's not. Still a hugger mostly.
So my updates this week, I've had Bonnie Blue on the brain lately because ever since we did that stupid article on her and Lily Phillips,
You
guess
better
who's
clarify.
sure. Google's algorithm has been like blowing up my chain with Bonnie Blue updates and news things. And some of them finally got me to click. I finally fell for the clickbait. And I gotta tell you, Bonnie Blue is a fascinating character now that I've read some of these things. She's an absolute idiot and an absolute trash doll, in my opinion. But yeah, she's an interesting trash doll. So, as we mentioned in the podcast, she claimed to have slept with 1,057 men in 12 hours. She was going to do the 1,000 and then didn't want to leave those other 57 hanging, if you'll pardon the pun. So, she took care of an additional 57 when she was done. After that incident happened, which I still don't believe happened, by the way, but
Yeah, we know it
um,
didn't, but moving on.
yeah, but moving on. She's made some really interesting comments and interviews. It's gotten her a lot of press, and she's got a lot of interesting things that she's said. If you'll pardon another one, there's been a lot of very fascinating things that have come out of her mouth recently. One of the most common, or one of the most recent, was that she went public and, in giving advice to other young girls and barely legal girls, advocated for them to follow in her footsteps, that there is a great deal of money and success and self satisfaction to be had in her career choices, and then let them know that you don't need to worry about getting STIs or STDs if you drink pineapple juice and eat vitamins. That is how you prevent catching a sexually transmitted disease or infection. And doctors actually had to come out and like debunk this and explain to people all across England, this woman is not a spokesperson. This woman is not a health advisor or a doctor. Please do not listen to her stupid advice. And I thought that was fascinating. I really did. And it made me click the link. And it brought me to an interview that she did on a podcast called the Stiff Socks Podcast. Interesting name for a podcast. I'm assuming it's probably related to porn stars. Um,
Probably.
yeah, I can't think of why else you'd call it that. Apparently, they asked her what the most ridiculous OnlyFans request she ever had was. And I assume they expected, some sort of sexual request. She said that someone offered her $50,000 for a jar of her trumps. Do you know what trumps are? It's a British slang word.
Is it like your underwear? Like your
That's what I thought
lower?
too. I was like, they want a jar of her panties? No, trumps is a British slang word for farts. Somebody offered her $50,000 to fart in a jar and seal it and send it to them. And she claims to have turned that down. So that was interesting. The look on Doug's face, I can't tell if he's like envisioning what that would smell like. He's got his nose turned up at just the right angle, or if he's really just pondering.
Well, I'm pondering. I'm not sure I've ever encountered the term trash doll before, so that was the first part of this.
That's fair.
Then the second part I'm wondering is, um, at first blush, I'd say, of course you take the 50K for something like that, unless you think it's just fake and like some version of a troll, and this person's not actually good for the money, and you're not gonna. I mean, I wouldn't want her to debase herself or
Of course
anything
not.
like that, to be
That,
embarrassed,
right. And that's actually part of the
but
justification
so
she gave, which was funny.
like. But
part
if
part of
if this is real, like, I mean, is this some sort of weird like control or power trip from the guy? Like, look, I could pay money and make a girl do anything. Like, I
Yeah,
don't
right?
understand.
It's an odd thing to spend $50,000 on.
I mean, I have heard and seen the occasional thing about, you know porn stars or like that, sitting in, like the bins of like water, like taking a bath sort of, and then selling cups of this water for like, $100 a pop or something like that, and making a killing on it. Like that feels like this is a version of that, but yeah, it does seem kind of ridiculous on multiple faces. But I would think it'd be ridiculous to ask for a cup of water that, as far as you know, was just taken from the tap.
I
So,
agree.
you know,
Her
high
her
iron
reasoning
content.
her reasoning for not doing it is largely because she's a lady, and she
Makes
said first,
sense.
right. First of all, she says she can't call it a fart because that's naughty. She has to say Trump. Sleeping with 1,000 guys, that's normal. But
Toot.
if she says fart, she's in the naughty corner. Okay. She said that the reasoning had to do with her being a lady or a girl, meaning I don't trump, I don't poo, I don't do any of that.
Mhm.
So she's claiming she doesn't fart. And if you haven't read the children's book that's written, All Women Fart, it's a great book and you should read it to your kids.
Oh, really?
It's fantastic. Um, but yeah, so she won't fart into a jar and sell it because she's a lady and doesn't want to be naughty. So that's interesting. And then I was curious. I'm like, all right, well, what else has she said? This has controversial quotes by her. You know how she got her start at all? Like we touched on it briefly in the podcast. Did we really go into that in detail at all? Did we go deep into that one? I don't think you do.
No, I mean we can talk about family issues, right? I think it's
She
family issues.
Right, she separated with her husband and then she started OnlyFans. But she started with 18-year-old kids and virgins and barely
Yeah.
legal kids, like 16 and 17-year-old kids who were technically legal. And that was how she got her start and was very
Hmm.
controversial for it. She called them freshers, and that was how she got her start.
I love how
She
that's controversial. Like she's some sort of predator by going after the barely legals, and it's just like maybe, but
maybe, but
that's what we're focused on, guys.
right, that seems like
That's
not
that's
the
the issue
headline here,
here.
right? Yeah. She didn't start doing her work with adults until a fresher brought his dad to an event. And she thought the dad was going to like cuss her out and tell her she was disgusting and blah, blah, blah. And it turns out he was, quote, jealous and wanted to join in.
Mhm.
So she, being the very, moral and strict individual she is, made them go separate. She was intimate with the son, and she made the dad, who was married, by the way, wait next door in the same apartment but in a different room and wait his turn for her to finish with his son. And then when the son was done, she brought dad in and gave dad a turn.
That's how you handle a proper lady is you wait your turn in
Yeah,
another
in
room
another
with
room.
modestly.
Yes. Yes. So that's
I
interesting.
I think I found the issue, guys. I think I found a bigger issue.
In a January video on TikTok, she says that her sex events and her meetups are the best place for men to cheat on their wives. So she's advocating herself as a mistress now and advocating cheating on partners.
On
And
video?
yeah, on video.
Yeah, because found another problem, guys.
Yep. She says that in her videos and in her cues, there are so many men present that even if your wife is looking for you, she wouldn't know which one you were. Then she says that your partner probably wouldn't recognize you in the sex video because your wife probably has not seen you down there in a very long time, including that it's been a very long
Mhm.
time since your wife has been intimate with you.
Yes,
And then in a caption, she added that wedding rings are encouraged at her events.
because
So
that won't help you get recognized either.
so this woman is actively trying to be a homewrecker. Yeah, I
Well,
just I
well,
ignored these things in my algorithm for literally months, and then last week I clicked on one, and now I get all of these, and I gotta tell you, this woman sounds like just an awful, awful person. She really does, the more I read about her.
so apparently my personality type i- in particular gets really frustrated with stupidity
Okay.
or what's the word? Terrible. It's ironic that I can't think of this word. It's basically someone who can't perform, like at a job or whatever. Why can't I think about it? Oh my gosh, incompetence. Thank you. My
Okay.
God, it's ironic.
I
Um,
was thinking impotence when you said they couldn't perform, but incompetence works too.
well, in certain industries, those can kind of coincide. And yeah, pineapple juice and oh,
Impotence. Yeah.
she won't recognize you. Like it's just if I was in a slightly different mood, I would be like on the floor, falling over from just how upset I am at just the sheer stupidity of these statements. But I've chosen to laugh instead of cry tonight.
Oh,
So, yay.
well, that makes me happy.
Let's stay here. Not let's not go to the other one. I can't.
Other than the fact
There,
that I still don't think she's actually physically attractive, I think that's my only update for this week. That's all I got.
I don't understand. Do people actually believe this stuff? I just have to think that this is a big, gigantic, like Emperor's New Clothes kind of situation here. You know, where everybody knows that she's secretly miserable and actually a terrible person, including her. And the people who are helping her with her business are also terrible people and or selfish or taking the easy way out when
Yeah, I don't think she's miserable though. I think
unless
she's
it's the
very
hard
happy.
way.
I think
Uh,
she's legitimately happy. I think she's actually literally enjoying this and she really feels fulfilled.
I will allow for the fact that she is enjoying this and being fully filled, mostly because her primary driver seems to be money.
And attention, I think.
Yeah,
I think
and
that's almost as big a part of this as money.
is there really there's really not a single little thought in the back of her mind of like this won't last, or she's just holding out hope that there will be a market for grannies that she'll somehow still be on top of the heap
You know what? I'm
when
sure there
that
is a
comes.
market for grannies. I'm
Well,
I'm actually sure that there is
I'm
because there
sure
seems to be a
there are
market
too,
for everything.
but it feels like it's a much smaller market, and you can't guarantee that she'll be the hottest granny.
That's true.
You know that
But she's
this
already
is
making millions. So honestly, she probably doesn't have to worry about it down the road. She honestly probably doesn't.
well. Speaking of NFL players, there are plenty of people who are young and stupid and make boatloads of money and end up in the literal sewer
That's
within
true.
a few years after they're done because they don't know how to handle it.
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't
Well,
know.
I guess
I
we'll
just
see.
it's not quite as bad as the atheist sociopath thing, but I just find it hard. I find it hard to believe that any significant amount of people involved in this, her, the people who are patronizing her, and people watching it and all that and paying for it, that I just find it so hard to believe that there's a significant amount of people that actually truly think that this is okay, or at the very least like not detrimental somehow, like there's no shame here. I find it hard to believe that there's zero shame for at least a lot of the people involved, maybe a couple,
And and see, I disagree with that. I think a lot of them feel like there's no shame involved in this, and I think a lot of them feel this is perfectly fine. Most of
well,
the young single guys, this is something that they're going to brag about for a long time, and it's something they're checking off of that.
I guess I could see like 1,000 guys out of a population of what, hundreds of millions. Now you're talking about a small percentage of the population officially.
Oh,
Maybe
I think it's much
that's
higher than that. I think it's almost every college frat guy in the world would be okay with this and would be excited with this. When if you take me back to when I was 21 or 22 years old, before I was dating my wife seriously, and you said, "Hey man, would you like to be with a porn star?" I'd have been like, "Hell yeah, let's go." And I would have been super excited about that. It would
and
have
you
been
have to
something,
pay for it, and you would
I
you would
wouldn't have paid for it, but I don't think these guys are paying for it. That doesn't
maybe
seem as though she's charging anyone money for this.
maybe you
That's not
have to
what seems to
be,
be happening.
and you're not.
I wouldn't want to be one in a queue of
That's what I was
1057.
gonna say. Like
That's pretty
that's
filthy and foul.
that's where I'm going with this, is that maybe I was just a prude, but like even when I was in that quote mode where I was just looking for anything that was willing to I wasn't gonna force any issue on anybody, but anybody who was willing to partake, even when I was in that mode, there was kind of this like, no, I'm not gonna be sloppy seconds or second fiddle or whatever. Like, and
Right.
again, maybe it was my own arrogance, but I kind of had this like, I want you to remember me, damn it. Like, even if you think I wasn't good, I want you to remember that too. No, I'm not just gonna be literally another notch on the belt, which maybe I was once. I don't know, but this like, oh, you want to be with a porn star? I mean, no, like kind of like even in my worst, it would be like, well, I'd think about it, but I would not be happy about it. This would not be ideal for me at all.
And see, I think that's the difference. I think a lot of young men would be, and you're
Yeah,
taking
maybe you're right.
your view and you're trying to put that out across the many. I think the many are just horny young men trying to do what horny young men try to do, and that the general feel for this would probably be young guys getting excited about this. I really think that would probably be the case way
Yeah.
more often than not. And I'm just
Well,
talking about strictly, being with a porn star. I'm not talking about like being one in a line of many, because
yeah, that's extra.
I've never understood that motivation. I've never wanted to get a ticket to that train. That's not I've never really comprehended someone's want for that. That seems just strange
Well,
to
you comprehended everything else. You had the fluffing all figured out.
me. All
We
right, so hopefully this will remove getting talking about this and getting it out there in the atmosphere will remove this from my algorithm, and we can
Nope.
move on to more interesting things.
Nope. I'm actually gonna. You ready for this? If you really want to be an honest scientific researcher about this, Tom, you now have to click a couple of Lily Phillips links.
At least Lily Phillips is cute. Like at least she's actually attractive. I could get on board with that. But not the naked links that'll get me in trouble with my wife. Just the news article links. I'd like them to start picking at each other with viral marketing again, because that was actually fun. While that was happening, like, oh, I'm pregnant. Oh, I'm pregnant. Like that was fun. That was kind of haha. This is
Did
just
you
cringy to
did
me.
you see they're supposedly in a race now to be like the first people to have sex on Mars or something? It's like the fake
No,
troll now.
that would be a fantastic story on The Onion. I hope someone writes
Yep. This is like that old Playboy excuse, like, oh yeah, I read it for the articles.
that.
They're really well written.
A Playboy. How times have changed.
Oh my
I remember
gosh.
when one kid with a Playboy magazine in like middle school was like the king of the school.
Scandal.
Yeah, he had what everybody wanted, and nobody could get. And it's just how the internet has changed things, right? It's just amazing.
Mm. Yeah, it's bad. It's real bad.
Now we got to safeguard our kids from stuff that didn't even exist when we were young. And how do you do that? And
Counterpoint, it existed, but it was just
it
you
wasn't commonly accessible like this.
yeah, you really had to look for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
funny world. Happy Easter. Woohoo.
Ha ha ha. Oh, speaking of, Pope Francis passed away.
Yeah.
That was surprising.
My wife was pretty upset
Well,
about that one.
not that surprising, I guess. They said he was sick for a while. I will tell you the internet is not letting JD Vance let go of this though.
Good.
Because he went to visit and 2 days later it's like Pope's dead. Yeah, it's been funny to see just the generic comments that ran through for a day or two. You
Blame
know,
Vance.
what did you give him? Someone said something like, he's the Pope now, he just has to accept it. Like, what? It's
He,
just so
he mistook pontiff
like,
and tariff, and then the Pope corrected him, and he just couldn't let that go. Like that kind of an insult, he couldn't let go. You don't correct him in public, right?
yeah, I don't know. I have to look it up to have any even a shred of authority to even talk about it. But there was some old supposed prophecy predicting the popes, and supposedly this person saw items that like represented past and future popes.
Okay.
I mean, for example, like a particular kind of rose that only grows on the mountaintops of this, town or city or whatever, and the pope, for that item ended up was like born in that town or spent a significant amount of time in that town, like connections like that, which you could argue if you even believe in the vision that maybe there's some stretching potentially. Supposedly Pope Francis was the last representation in the vision, so some people are saying that's like the last pope, which is actually a really good movie title.
Yeah.
So there's all there's this secret rumblings from some of the people that are more into that deeper level stuff, wondering what's actually going to happen now. I don't know, but I don't put too much stock in it because the Bible, if you're going to be into that sort of thing, says no one knows the day or the hour. So
We should talk about the Bible code sometime. That's a fun
hmm.
conspiracy theory. You know
My
the
guess is
alleged.
it's there's going to be like a new schism or other similar type of event that may not be as widely recognized now, but later will be viewed as much more historical, and that's what that coincides to. If you're going to put stock in that,
Sure.
but again, we'll see. It'll be fun.
Did you ever hear about the curse of the presidents that were elected in years to end with zero? Like, did you ever hear that fun philosophy?
No, actually.
So there was a belief for a while that if a president was elected in a year that ended in zero, that he was
Hmm.
cursed to die during his tenure. And it held true for every president
Biden.
from
Good job, dude.
hold on. It held true for every president from like the beginning of our elected presidents all the way up to Ronald Reagan. If you go back and you
Huh.
look at every president who was elected in the year that ended in zero, they all died while they were in office. And
Interesting.
and then you get to Reagan. And Reagan survived an assassination attempt,
Fair.
and none have died since then. And
Oh,
so the thought is that
Final
he broke the
Destination.
curse. Right. The thought is that by surviving the assassination attempt, Ronald Reagan broke this curse. And now presidents get to live.
And you guys hate Reagan.
Mhm.
He did so much for us, for the presidents.
And apparently on my mom's side,
Huh.
I'm related to Nancy Reagan, which I just learned yesterday and I don't really believe or care about. But
Hmm.
apparently
Interesting.
that's a thing. Yeah.
I'd never heard about this, but I guess it makes sense because you have, the couple of assassinations. You have I mean, like the William Henry Harrison types that die from sickness or whatever. And yeah, that's interesting. I'll have to look at that. Hmm. Make a note. Add something about that.
It's the Curse of Tippecanoe, the zero
Oh,
year curse.
so what? This started with John Tyler or something?
Started with William Henry Harrison and his war with Native American chief Tecumseh.
Mm. Oh yeah,
Hmm.
so he was the first one.
Yep. Since 1840, 8 presidents have died in office. 7 of them were elected in years divisible by 20. That's how they're putting
Interesting.
it there, the 20-year curse.
Oh, the
William
20-year
Henry
curse.
Harrison in
Okay.
1840, Abraham Lincoln in 1860, James Garfield 1880, William McKinley 1900, Warren G. Harding 1920, Franklin Delano Roosevelt 1940, and JFK
Mm.
1960.
Wasn't that his third term, the 1940 term?
I don't know, but again, it's apparently when you're elected in one of those
Okay. I
years.
was gonna say, well, oh, they died in that election
Yeah.
cycle.
Yep.
Oh, it wasn't just that they got elected in a zero, they died in that next 4 years.
Right.
Okay, cool.
And then Ronald Reagan, who was elected in
That makes it much more
1980.
specific
Yeah.
because I was gonna say like guys like FDR, they go for that extra term and they die later on kind of thing. Okay.
And then Ronald Reagan, who was 1980 elected, he survived the assassination attempt and allegedly broke it. If we go and look at them, so William Harrison died of pneumonia while he was in office. Abraham Lincoln had a headache. James Garfield was assassinated. William McKinley was assassinated. Warren G. Harding was a heart attack in office.
What about 1960? Or am I
We're
just
getting
doing
that's
my math
JFK.
wrong?
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
who
right.
was
How
also
could I forget
he
that?
also died of a headache, a very mysterious headache.
Yes.
FDR with cerebral hemorrhage.
Mm,
And then Ronald Reagan did eventually pass away with pneumonia, but he survived his term of office. Did not die in office. But
mm.
all the other ones before him, one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. Seven. Sorry, I counted wrong. Yeah, that's a fun little curse to read about sometimes. I'm
Nice.
surprised you hadn't heard about that. That seems like the kind of thing you would have been familiar with.
That does seem like the kind of thing I would have heard. Maybe it was one of those things I heard and I was just like, that's just, that's like 8 out of 45 at the time. Like that's decent odds. That's not crazy.
You were like, you know what? They didn't get Biden. They didn't get Trump. I don't care.
Well, Trump hasn't had a an election in a zero though. Only
2020.
Biden.
Oh yeah, you're
No,
right. He lost it.
no,
Well,
no. He
by,
had
according to him,
2016.
he won it though. That's the complication here. It's according to Trump, he won that election. So
Uh, I think that's the problem. Is the curse doesn't know what to do now. It's like, oh, wait a
there
minute.
you go.
Who do I
He,
get?
he confused the curse. The curse that
Trump.
was once broken is now confused, and we're gonna see what side of the coin it
He was
lands on.
he was coming back. Final Destination Sally was skipping over, but then Trump 4D chess to the curse.
Should we talk a little bit of Easter?
Yeah, sure. Let's talk a little bit of Easter.
How was your Easter? Was it good?
Yeah, it was pretty good. We had a kind of a similar thing to last year. My mom held a big get together. All the extended family and kiddos came over. There was like a sort of little egg hunt, and it's actually pretty neat the way my mom said she read it and set it up this way. I think I mentioned it last year when we were talking about this, but she gets a colored paper bag for all the kids, writes their name on them, and then writes what egg to look for. And so it's like this kid has green
That's cool.
eggs, this kid has orange eggs.
Yeah.
Because of how many kids there were, she had to do one that was shark eggs. So
Nice.
there were eggs that had little shark faces on them, but they were different colors. So it's like, no, just those. And I think every kid had something like 5 or 6 eggs to find, and there were special like silver eggs where each kid, got one if they found one, and it was cute. And just they had fun, and there were 40 people
Nice.
at this turnout, so it was pretty hectic, but it was fun.
I thought we had a big Easter. Wow, that's huge.
Yeah, yeah. Irish Catholic family.
It's my wife's family too. Yeah, makes
Yeah,
sense.
lots of us. Everyone didn't even show up. You have the one or two like, where's this person? I'm like, oh well, they couldn't make it
So we
because now we all have kids, so
yeah.
just keeps going.
So now that we have the big house with the big yard, we got like a 2 acre front yard. Lowe's finally delivered my lawnmower and finally got the charging right and the billing right for my lawnmower. So it turns out I only paid what I was supposed to pay after, they overdrafted my account and forced me to carry a balance that was like 5 times at the price of the lawnmower for a month.
You were
Um,
worried.
Yeah, right. But I finally got my lawnmower, and let me say that sumbitch is real fun to ride. I had a blast hauling around my property on that thing. Cut over 2 acres in like 40 minutes, which was so much fun. And that was stopping to like pick up my son and give him a ride around the yard and like drive around and just tooling around playing with zero turn and having fun and ripping up divots in the corners of my yard. And had I done it seriously, I probably could have done it in like 30 or 35 minutes. And that's
Wow.
for 2 acres, super impressive. I was really pleased.
Yeah.
So a lot of fun. And now that we had 2 acres of horse pasture that's freshly mowed, what a great place to hide eggs. So my mom, who goes crazy with this and usually does it at her place, this year agreed to do it at our place, saves her the cleanup. But she pre-packed all these little plastic eggs, like 150 eggs for a total of 3.5 kids. Because my nephew was there, Jackson, but he's one. So he's not really doing a lot of egg hunting. And then my littlest one, who's almost 4, she'll be 4 next month, she didn't do a lot of egg hunting like he did. So they had like a 1 acre pasture for the two of them. And my oldest two had a 1 acre pasture where they went crazy and then were just chomping at the bit to get into the little kids' pasture where they could still see eggs. And it was great. It was a lot of fun. My brother-in-law and my sister-in-law came down from New Hampshire. We had a lot of Bridget's family down, which was good. Her parents, my brother and his wife, my nephew. We got to meet my brother-in-law's girlfriend, who is really more of a fiance at this point, but she's just those girlfriend. But it's the first time we got to meet her, and she seems really awesome. It was really, really cool to meet her. And it was really a great time. We cooked for, I think we had 17 people, cooked the whole darn meal. I made gluten-free zucchini bread with my mom's recipe, and it came out so good. I thought it was going to be ruined because it was gluten-free, but it actually came out, I think, a little bit better because the wheat flour alternative that I used took a little longer to bake. And so it got super crispy on the outside and was still super gooey on the inside. And it was just amazing. So zucchini
Heresy.
bread's still the
Better than
best.
your mom's bread.
I know,
Impossible.
I know. And I thought the same thing at first until my wife agreed with me. And then I kind of snuck in a comment in front of my mom. She was like, "Oh, that was so good. I couldn't believe how well it came out." And I went, "Ooh, I'm onto something here." So, yeah, so no, Easter was really great until a very awkward ending that we won't go into too much detail about on the podcast because I don't want to embarrass anybody, but someone drank way too much and refused to hand over car keys despite my strong insistence, and it led to a very unfortunate ending to an otherwise beautiful day. And we'll just leave it at that. I don't want to drag anybody through the dirt on this one and embarrass anybody anymore. I received a nice long apology text message and informed them that's not going to get you off the hook. The next time you see me, you owe me a verbal one. But yeah, that's for a whole nother day.
I thought that the ending of the story was that then he recorded a podcast.
No, 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 not me. That is the one thing that I am confident in saying I will never do. No, no. One of my guests, someone in the family,
I
drank
know.
too
I'm
much,
just
and
trying to mess with you.
but
Goodness.
prior to that, we had a community Easter egg hunt that was thrown by the town that I live in. And they
Hmm.
go to this playground and park area, and they have like the little kids go over to this side with the playground, and the big kids go down to this massive field that is a baseball field, and it's got a soccer field attached to it, and it was really, really neat. And that was honestly the event of the weekend for me. We went down there,
Mm.
we saw the Easter bunnies. Turns out the whole event is thrown by someone I've known through basketball for a long time. He's a great guy, and he's a retired state trooper, and I just genuinely like him. His name is also Tom, so I probably like him a little bit for that. But I've known him because of basketball for a long time. Did not know that he organized and ran all these community events for the kids until that day. But the kids all lined up in the side, and the Easter bunnies, sat there and did pictures, and they basically say, "Okay, ready, set, go," and all
Hmm.
the kids take off into the field, right? And it's just chaos. It's
Yep.
insanity. So my daughter was there. She found a friend of hers, and she and Gwenny ran off and took off together. And my son didn't recognize anybody there, but there was a boy there who was very social, and he, kind of latched on to my son. And my son was like, "I'll help you. I'll help you find eggs." He was in the younger end. And they go taking off running down this hill behind all these older kids, and the other kid's crock falls off his foot, like flies up in the air and goes off his foot. And the kid kind of trips and falls. And my son stops and goes back and gets his crock and brings him the crock and helps him get back up and helps him start running again. And the kid trips again and loses the crock again. And my son picks it up and helps him out again. Meanwhile, all the other kids are like 60 yards ahead of them now. And so by the time the Desi and this other kid catch up, there are no eggs left. Desi went through the entire field and got like 3 eggs because he was helping this little kid who couldn't keep his Crocs on, and he wanted to help take care of this kid. And my heart just like swelled. And I'm like, oh, my boy, like I am so proud of my kids. We did something right. He's a good kid. And I was super, super excited about it. And then as I'm watching, Desi eventually gets sad he has no eggs. Like eventually he realizes that clicks, I'm not going to get any Easter eggs today. Like there aren't any left. And you can see his head actually drop. And some other kid that apparently knew him that we didn't see ahead of time walks up to him and like pats him on the shoulder and gives him eggs out of his basket. He's like, here, I've got extra eggs, and gives my son eggs. And I went, there are good kids left. Like, this generation is not ruined forever. And it was super cool. And I was really, really proud of him and excited for my son to have a friend, and good to see a good deed get rewarded. And like, oh, good. He's going to learn a lesson out of this. The kids all get back. And when I look over, my daughter and her friend, my daughter had way more eggs. And my daughter's giving eggs to her friend to help even it out. So she has eggs. And I got to tell you, man, it's not very often I look at my kids and go, I did something right here. These kids are turning out great. I don't bask in those moments. More often, it's like, oh my God, what did I do wrong here? Why does my kid not get this? Why is my child doing that? Why are you sticking that fork in that socket? Why can't I see your hands? Like, those are the thoughts I have when I look at my kids most of the time. It was nice, genuinely nice to bask in a moment where I'm like, my kids are good people. Like it worked. Something we did came out right. And I'm dadding right on some level, and I haven't screwed them up. It was really cool. Like it was a nice, really fascinating moment to really kind of get that. And I was glad I got it. And that was
Well,
what made Easter
that's
fantastic.
nice. I've been trying to tell you this for a while now.
Well, yeah, but you also told me you had a microphone for me, and it took me months for that one. So
Mm-hmm.
some things you got to see with your own eyes.
Vindicated.
I've already admitted I'm a slow loner. There's a slow learner
It's true. And a slow loner.
and a slow loner. I'm a quick loner. I'm a slow borrower.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, those are good. That we also did that too. The same community thing, and they do the different baseball fields, and what'd they do? They did a 3 to 4, 5 to 6, and 7 to 8 age ranges.
Nice.
And I think the 3 to 4 a parent's allowed to go out. Or no, it was just I think they had an under 3, and then they had a 3 to 6 and a 7 and 8 kind of thing.
I
So
think ours was like five and
yeah,
under, and parents could go with those. So Bridget actually went with my youngest and did that
right.
one. I walked her through, and I stayed with
Yeah,
the older
my
kids.
wife went with our youngest and just they got a couple of eggs and did pretty well, and then the girls each went and they were in their separate spots and they both did really well. They did good. And I mean, especially for my oldest, she was one of the younger ones in the group, and so she's sitting there because she's competitive like us,
Yeah,
and she's looking and she goes, "Oh, she got more eggs than I did," like comparing with her sister, and we're like, "She's racing against younger kids. You were going against like kids that were a head taller than you. You still got pretty close. Like, don't worry about it." And then, open the eggs. And I think my oldest, they had little bouncy balls in some of them. And I swear to
well, that's
God,
cool.
well, not that cool. Not for us. We already
Bouncy
have
balls are great.
they
So much
are
better than
great.
candy.
Yeah. Well, except when you have 7 of them in your house and you get to trip over them like Home Alone style.
Yeah,
I kid you not. Our oldest opened like 5 eggs in a row and they were all bouncy balls. I was like, is there anything else in these eggs?
that's awesome.
I'm actually most excited about you having the egg hunt at your place now. I should know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask anyway. You did not find all 150 eggs, did you, or
I
did
think
they?
we did find them all.
Mm,
There were no
mm,
obvious ones that were missing. So my mom did
right.
all kinds of fancy things, and we all walked it and did laps after the fact. And I think they actually did find them all, which would be a first. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
I am here to tell you that I would put $5 up on that you did not find all of them.
I'm expecting to find a couple when I drive the lawnmower next time and cut the grass. But we walked it diligently, and none of us, six
It's
adults, all walked it
it's
and couldn't
not
find it.
even that. It's that because way back when my parents did a similar thing with all of us, like when I was, 8, 9, 10 years old. And it got to the point where they were like betting each other how many eggs would show up over the next year before the next egg hunt. And at one point, I think I was probably 14 or 15 years old, maybe. The last time my parents did anything like this, I was 12, and I didn't even like participate in it, I think. And an egg shows up like in the yard, and we saw a toy in it. And the best part is we knew because it was this specific little like ring toy or whatever like that, that it was actually in the second to last egg hunt round that was done. So some raccoon found this thing or had or you get moved around between multiple animals, but we found an egg that was literally 4 years old. Just showed up.
That's fantastic.
And yeah, it was really good. I mean, and that was the, we're convinced now. We even had a talk like there's got to be no more eggs out there. We haven't seen any. They were like a year or two, and then just like one day,
But sure enough,
this fucking egg showed up.
yeah,
Just yeah. So you'll probably have one or two of those. You keep doing it
yeah,
every year, you'll have random things just show up out of nowhere. It is pretty funny.
yeah, it'll happen. We'll keep fun of it, and I'm okay with that. It's it's all
Yeah.
good.
I think if I was now on that side as the parent, every little egg that came up, I would be like, oh, I remember
Yeah.
that. Yeah, like it'd be fun. Like
Yep.
a weirdo. When I was a kid, I was just like, fuck, we didn't find all the eggs.
That was good.
Good.
I like hosting those events in my house, and I'm glad it mostly went well. It was just fun to see the kids have so much fun. Yeah, it was
Yep.
just neat.
Yep. I agree. I concur.
Oh, good.
Good.
Do you want to call it here and be like really short and sweet and to the point?
Oh, I don't know if we should be that ridiculous.
Okay.
I will give you the choice. We
Where do you
can
want to go next?
well, we can discuss the Cluely thing, or we can discuss the Bingo 2027 movie thing.
We can wait on the
I
Bluey movie because they're still
I
making
know nothing about
announcements.
the Bluey.
Okay, then I'll talk about the Bluey movie. So they announced they're doing a Bluey movie. It's coming out in 2027. It has the original creative team on it. I'm super excited. They're not releasing a ton of details, but they've made certain promises in keeping it true to the spirit and in keeping it and making it big and grand. And it's just man, I'm so excited for a Bluey movie. My kids are literally like chomping at the bit and sad they have to wait 2 years. And it's not too often that my kids and I get something we are equally excited about. There's just not enough shared interest that we're both excited for the same things very often. And I'm really excited for the Bluey movie. I'm pumped. I'm sure by
So,
then it'll be a coming of age thing. It'll be, I'm just excited.
is
The
this a Bluey movie or a Bingo movie? Because I think
Blue.
on the
My
okay,
kids I called it bingo because that's what my kids
yeah,
are joking about. It's going to be a bingo movie. But no, it's a Bluey movie, and she's probably going to get another sibling or something. Like it's going to be something monumental.
maybe
It's
it
going to be
could be. I mean, it could be one of those like Frozen, where you think it's about Elsa at first, but it's actually about Anna.
who's the better character anyway, so that's fine.
Who? Bingo?
Anna. Anna's a
Anna?
far better character than Elsa.
Well,
Far
yeah.
better.
Elsa is she's a plot driver,
Elsa drives
basically.
me nuts. We should do a whole episode about why Elsa sucks and Moana's a better movie. I could do that for an entire episode.
Wait, hold on a second. You just tried to sneak in the Moana thing.
Oh, Moana's a great movie.
You said why Elsa sucks and why Moana's a better movie. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. Hold on a second here.
I
Different
could
universe.
well, the different universe, but the movies came out around the same time. And Moana is just such a vastly superior movie from not just like an entertaining and well done movie perspective, but also from like the message that you want your children to get. It's a much better message being sent.
In Moana?
Yeah, far
Nah,
better.
screw that noise.
What?
Oh
You
man.
are out
Oh
of your bloody mind.
no, I am not. You know what Moana tells you? If
That
the if the ocean talks to you, don't listen to your parents.
no, that
That's
is
that's
not
like
what it
that's like a
says.
beautiful mind, but Disney.
You
That's
know what?
crazy talk.
Frozen tells you like most Disney movies, your parents die, and that's that. Like you would be dead in Frozen. Her parents are dead super easy, super unrewarding, and for not really any good reason until Frozen 2. Like, yeah, no. Moana's a much better movie.
That was a
It
product
is
of the
about
times, though. It was Middle Ages, later Viking kind of time. Those choppy
when do
seas
you think
got them.
Moana takes place? Do you
When do
think
you,
Moana is present day?
when do you think Moana takes place? Because that is an entirely different universe. They're this one island. Let's not get into like incest and inbreeding or anything like that. They're this only island in the middle of the ocean,
Yeah.
and there's legends about about demigods and all that stuff that they haven't even seen for 1,000 years, and then suddenly the ocean starts interacting with Moana, who's like to any other person on the island, like she's a fucking basket case, and then she decides to run off and ignore her parents, ignore her at least implied role of the village, and it just so happens that she was right on this literally 1 in 1,000 years chance. That's a good
Just
message.
so happens. It's not that the ocean actually spoke to her and that the gods of her time
Hmm.
actually spoke to her. She just got lucky. That's what you want me to believe. It's a roll of dice.
Well, you know
Meanwhile,
what? At least
Elsa, who
Stingray Grandma
destroys
helped out
her
a little bit.
town, okay? Elsa,
Not
who
on
lives in a
purpose.
much more modern world, okay,
It's like
decides
this is like 1600s maybe
they
is
they've
like the
got
setting for
they've got
this.
stone castles and paved streets and actual ships that can carry people and international
Six.
commerce and people with monocles and glasses for eyewear. This clearly is more recent than people living with coconut straw huts
So
that are still sailing on rafts.
1650.
Okay, and compared to Moana, which takes place without any of that technology, so probably earlier.
Arguable because in Moana's
Arguable.
universe, they're a single island. So there's just not as many resources or reference of ideas or anything like that too. So Moana could be any time in history, really, potentially, in my mind. I think
Maybe.
it's just a whole separate universe that's timeless.
Moana is set approximately 2,000 years ago, during a period known as the Long Pause in Polynesian history. 2,000 years ago.
Okay, who says this?
Uh,
Is it
this
Disney creator? Because then
this
I'll
is
buy
this
it.
is from the Disney universe.
Okay, I knew that already.
Sure. Well, Disney's got their time frame.
Okay,
They've got their thing. They're
okay,
telling you that the canon it takes place about 2,000 years ago.
okay.
And Moana is about the story of all kids are rebellious in nature. All kids have that to deal with. Moana is about a girl who goes out and finds herself and learns to trust in herself and learns to embrace who she is instead of allowing the world to tell her who she is and to dictate who she's going to be. Instead of a parent saying, you're going to grow up and be a doctor, you're going to grow up and be a lawyer, you're going to inherit the family business. That's actually quite literally what it is. You're going to inherit the family business. She says, no, that's not my calling in life. That's not what I want to do. And she goes out and does her own thing. And oh, by the way, saves the world while she does it. Just as an extra throw-in bonus there. She liberates a demigod who's been trapped for an eternity and reunites him and helps him rediscover himself and to rediscover the things that he loves about not only him, but his connections to other people. And then she goes and saves the world and has a great understanding of who she is, and then comes home and also fulfills her familial obligations. She does all of that. Elsa runs away from her problems the first time she hurts someone who is, by the way, her sister, literally injures her sister and causes magical trolls to like magically lobotomize her sister, right? And take memories from her that she will never have again. She then isolates herself in a room, locks herself away from her family, doesn't deal with her problems, causes trauma to her sister who doesn't understand why she doesn't love her anymore and why she doesn't like her anymore and why she's losing her best friend. Her parents go off to discover some kind of a cure for these powers that she's had. So, in order to try to save her, her parents die in a boat in the middle of the ocean because Disney. And that's how that goes. And Elsa's response to this whole thing is to reluctantly take command, but then again to isolate herself when she makes a mistake, never face her problems or take responsibility for them until finally things have just gotten so bad that she comes back home. But the damage has been done. People have been hurt, trade and economy has been hurt, her sister has been thrust into danger and essentially taken advantage of by Hans. And at the end of the day, Hans, who's the most misunderstood character in the whole thing, dies at Elsa's hands because she's just an evil wench and kills the poor guy. It's really unfortunate. But Elsa is a terrible character who teaches you to not own up to your mistakes and to not take responsibility, and that it's okay to run away when you screw something up and pretend like it didn't happen because somebody else will run along and eventually fix it. That is the lesson from Frozen, and it's an awful one for children.
So
Awful.
I would like to clarify for those of us who apparently haven't seen the movie and Tom really tried to roll past it without being honest to the material. Hans did not die, for the record. For
Hans
someone who's so opposed to
died.
this movie, no, he did not.
Didn't he shatter?
No. My
All
goodness.
right. That movie was so bad, apparently I repressed it. So what happened to Hans?
My turn.
Yep.
Moana defies her family and her familial obligations and lucks out in happening to be right. In Moana's universe, the demigod is full of himself and arrogant and
Mhm.
has to come back down to proverbial earth. She somehow manages to defeat a angry fire god who happens to be Te Fiti instead of Te Kā, and she does it by standing there and just being loving when really she should have just gotten torched. So when a little girl from an island who is not even following the rest of the world order is the reason why everything suddenly magically works out, including the gods, that's horrendously unrealistic to me.
That's not how she did it. That's a bold-faced lie.
The message, I did not interrupt you, sir.
No, but I wasn't that intentionally inaccurate and misleading. I honestly thought Hans died and made a mistake. You're being like intentionally misleading with that.
No, no, she
Yes.
doesn't. She does not actually throw a blow at Tekka
No, she
to
returns
defeat
the
Tekka.
thing that Taka wants to her and gives her back the heart of Tafiti. She returns it to her, and that is what causes her to stop and be like, "Oh, you're okay. I don't have to be
She doesn't.
destructive anymore."
She
She
doesn't
hands it up
return
to
it at
her.
first. Well,
She
yes, but she stops, and then Tekka stops and looks at her, and then she hands the heart up to Tekka when she figures out that Tekka is Tafiti. She doesn't just like throw the heart at her and it makes it all better. Like Tekka has a moment where Tekka just stops from smiting her for a second, then she shows her the heart.
yes,
The moral of that story is that yes, you're supposed to like live your truth and do your calling and all that stuff, but this is despite what everybody says, including your own parents, including the safety of your own island, and since it's the only island they know of, their whole world. So yes, you have to be damn sure of yourself, but this is actually showing that you should defy your family potentially if you're otherwise convinced. In Frozen, yes, there's lots of mistakes. That's the point. We're human. We all make mistakes. Bad things happen. Parents die. The one saving grace in the entire movie is the sisterly love that Anna
mhm,
presents.
I agree.
Now, what's
That's why
lost
I
in
like
this,
Anna better than yeah.
but here, what's lost in the story is that even though it's misguided, there is a similar extreme sisterly love from Elsa. Elsa locks herself in the room because she hurt Anna, because she doesn't want it to happen again, because she doesn't know how to handle this power and she is afraid of it. She actually, when it does get released on the coronation day, she decides to banish herself. And yes, she does enjoy the not having to worry about stuff and the lack of responsibility, but she first does it because she's running away because she decides that she doesn't want to hurt anyone anymore. When Anna tracks her down, she says, "Go away, I don't want to hurt you." And she says, "I don't want to hurt anyone anymore." That's her primary reason. She even summons the snow monster because she wants Anna to
Marshmallow.
leave. Right, exactly. Ironically, she wants Anna to leave in a way because she doesn't want to be bothered. She wants to be left alone because she thinks she's a menace to society. Anna's undying love basically breaks through all of that and convinces Hans and or excuse me, Kristoff and Sven and all of them to help fix this. Hans does not die. What actually happens is Elsa is so upset with everything after having been taken prisoner by Hans that it causes the huge snowstorm because this is a huge power that's she's got dropped in her lap basically. She didn't pick this. It's something that she doesn't know how to handle yet. Anna slowly starting to freeze from the strike to her heart when Elsa is trying to get her to leave, actually gets in the way of Hans trying to strike Elsa down with a sword, and the sword shatters
And
from
that's what I
hitting
was
Anna
looking
right
for.
as she
Okay.
turns into ice, and Hans gets knocked out initially. Elsa realizes that her sister's love is not going to be stopped, and that actually that's probably the key to overcoming this because her own sister's love is able to overcome even stuff like this and the danger. Everything melts. Hans wakes up. Anna gives him a good old right hook and knocks him off the deck. And then they show him briefly in restraints being brought onto one of the ships from one of the other nations. And the
That's
guy
right.
makes a comment about saying, let's see what his other brothers think of this.
Yep. I
So
remember all
no, he
that
does
now.
not die. So
Good. Well, I wish he
the
had,
moral of that
but
story is that life will sometimes throw you massive pieces of shit. And if you stay true to your family and love each other, eventually you can come out the other end, even when it all seems like it's lost and hopeless. If you keep striving and keep trying to fight for those you love, you can make it out the other end.
so which part of that was staying true to her family when she cut her sister off and traumatized her emotionally as a child, or when she left as an adult with the whole city and her sister frozen and stuck and screwed in an eternal snowstorm,
What
or when
about
her
Anna?
sister showed up to the castle to say hi to her and try to bring her back, and she once again injured her sister and then abandoned her and like left her injured and alone and probably going to die until oh gosh, I'm gonna get was it Kristoff? What's Anna's love interest in that one?
It's Kristoff. You're still
Kristoff.
focused on Elsa only, as if Elsa's the only piece of this puzzle.
Well,
The
because
story,
she's the protagonist that most of the girls fell in love with and is the main character. Even though Anna is what
no,
makes that movie tolerable. Anna's the best character.
Anna is the main character of that movie. It's Anna's story. That's the reason why Frozen 2 was marketed as sort of Elsa's story.
I disagree. I don't think that was marketed. It was never marketed as Anna's story ever. And Elsa is
Well,
the
not
one who
marketed,
sold the
but
most merchandise, and Elsa is the protagonist. Anna is the hero and the heroine, but she doesn't get the credit she deserves in that movie. The girls all want to love Elsa. It's all let it go, wearing a dress. My girls were the same way, and I
well,
tried
because
to push the Anna
she's
dress.
the queen with the magical powers. But
Sure.
the real lesson in Frozen is the perseverance, even when your sister is avoiding you, which, as it turns out later, is because of her love for you and just being fearful for you. If you keep striving and keep pushing, you can come out the other end, even when there's other forces at work too, not just the magical forces. I mean, there's Hans who had the whole deception and everything and trying to assume the throne for himself, and he almost got away with it too. Scooby
Yeah,
Doo.
I
Who
just
was it for those
Scooby.
meddling
If it
kids
wasn't for those meddling kids and that reindeer.
in that snowman, that magical snowman?
I did like Olaf in that movie. Olaf was a saving grace too. He was fun. No, I can't turn my back on the whole just keep shirking your responsibilities and eventually somebody else will bail you out and it'll be okay. I can't get on board with that message
See, to
versus the
me,
Moana message.
but that's also sort of a Moana thing. She shirks her, at least expectations, her responsibilities to go off on what she believed her calling was.
No, it's
And
different because she's got your expectations and responsibilities are different. And you've got literally the ocean is the demigod that they're dealing with saying, here is this thing. I need you to go on this quest. She's literally embarking on the hero's quest in Moana. And her
yes,
responsibility is to save the world, even if her family doesn't realize it. Elsa's responsibility is to run away and hide every time things get hard and let someone else figure it out until it
and
gets so
Anna's
bad she gets roped in.
responsibility is to still persevere and push through,
I'm not arguing on it. I agree. I agree
even
with you
without the
100%
hero's
on
quest.
it.
But that's the point. You can't analyze Frozen as like only how Elsa did,
But
or
that's how the
only how.
movie is structured and how it was pitched and how it was sold. So yes, you
Well,
can.
let's take Moana then and talk about how great Moana was and how like misguided and blind her parents were, thinking that she had to stay on the island, had to assume her role as chief.
I
Let's
think
just
that yeah.
drag in all the other people that were ignorant and whatever
Well,
too
sure, but
and
they
compare the
weren't pitched
movies.
as the main characters is the difference. They're supporting characters. And what you're getting there is a very rational parental fear. How many times have we talked about everything we do is shaded in protecting my kids? That is the lens that we see things through. And her father was terrified of venturing beyond the reef because people would drown or people would get hurt. They wanted to protect their daughter. That's what they knew. That's just parents being parents, but
So
they weren't
Moana
being
is telling
pitched as the
parents that they were
protagonist.
wrong.
Yes, and then your guess what? Kids are going to do that, and that's okay
Hmm.
as long as you're teaching your kids to think constructively and to be brave and to own up to their mistakes and then to learn from it and to do the right thing, which is what Moana does
And
pretty much on her own.
Frozen teaches kids to continue to love and continue to stick with the family you've got so that even if some shit happens to your parents, you can still persevere and have a prosperous kingdom.
If Anna was the main character, I would agree with you. Instead,
Anna
she's the best
Anna
character, but
is the
Elsa
main
is the main.
character.
No, she's not.
That's she is. That's
She
the
is
point.
not.
That's
She
the
should
point.
be, but she is not.
You are mad that a certain segment of the population improperly views Elsa as the main character. At
No,
bare
Disney
minimum,
pitched her as the main character.
at
I'm looking
main
at the movie posters right now. It is Elsa. It is not Anna front and foremost. It is
because
Elsa.
No movie ever marketed one thing only to surprise you with another thing on the other end.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what they were doing. I'm sure that's why Elsa was most of their
Hmm.
merchandise, and why Let It Go was the single, which is all Elsa, and why the Elsa dress is the number one selling product from the whole movie. I'm sure that was all sneaky and deceptive, and Anna was really their goal to be the lead there. No, stop giving them credit for things that was not intended, bailing out
Come
Disney.
on.
They don't need your help, Doug.
Anna was obviously the main character because who got cast to play Anna? Kristen Bell,
She was
megastar.
fantastic.
Who got cast to play Elsa? Not megastar. What's her face? I can't remember her name right now. That
Can't
tells you all
either.
you need to know. Oh
And
yeah,
and I
because
hate to say it,
they
but
got
isn't it kind
Kristen
of
Bell and they were like, "You're gonna play a secondary character. That's what we're gonna do."
isn't it kind of funny too, like when you hear someone like Kirsten Bell and she sings the songs for Elsa in the movie, but
Apparently
then when
she's
they released the
Anna.
single, they use like
Anna
I'm sorry,
didn't
Anna. I'm thinking whoever was playing Elsa,
didn't she
whoever
sing the songs for Anna like in the movie? Didn't she apparently do that
she
too?
did, yeah, she
Yeah,
actually sang Anna's songs, which are great.
yeah, that was
But
actually really talented.
whoever sang Elsa's songs, they then hired a professional singer to sing
Adina
them.
Menzel or something like that is her
Yeah,
name.
I
Adina
don't know.
Menzel or whatever.
But
I
the
can't remember.
actress didn't get to sing the singles that were released on the radio. Like that was recorded by a professional musician. And that always kills me a little bit. Like she sang it just fine in the movie. Let the same person have the single. Let them have it.
Well,
Anyway,
man, Adina Menzel, is that her name?
I have no
She
idea. I'm really
she
bad with those names. I'm worse
she
with that than Betty
decided
probably.
that because she played Elsa in the movie, she had some clout to get political on some shit like a couple of years ago. So that was a big fat mistake. Cause
Actors and actresses love to do that, don't they?
yeah, well, people love me, so I can just speak about other stuff now. Yeah.
I can just say whatever and you have to assume I'm an expert. And that's just, yeah.
Well, I did not have fighting about Disney movies on my bingo card tonight. And for the record, I think Moana is also a good movie. I just think if you're gonna like go from a values perspective, I don't think it's any better than any other Disney movies. I mean,
Oh, I think it's much better. But again, it's for the reasons I think. It's about discovery. It's about most Disney movies rely on these tropes of like romantic relationships and like really time-tested Disney tropes. And Moana didn't. It was about friendships and it was about self-discovery, and there was no handsome prince coming to save the day, and there was no you didn't have that. It was really all about
no.
her. And even the interactions with Maui revealed a lot about her, which is what they did really, really well. I don't know. I feel like it is a far superior movie to most Disney movies because
Oh,
it didn't need the tropes to survive.
I agree with
And
you
the parents
on
lived.
the
I like that. I like when the parents
that was the worst part.
lived.
Come on.
I usually
Disney
root for the
getting
dark
away
side
from
of
its
things,
source
but
material.
I'm glad that the parents got to live.
No, you're right. I mean, they did focus on her and her development, but see, to me, that was also part of Frozen as well. That they there was a it's not a romantic relationship, but it's the sisters, and there's Hans at least on the outskirts looking like a romantic relationship, and then there's
And
Kristoff.
Kristoff, yeah.
He's but see, he's painted as very much not a romantic thing until the end, and they kind of do the switcheroo on you. They think, oh, he's going to come in and be the Prince Philip kind of character with Sleeping Beauty, and then it turns out to be not that at all. And the whole like act of true love thing that they reference to you is between sisters, and that's where they caught you and saying, well, no, 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 this is also just as strong. And I thought that was an interesting play that they made.
Yeah, and I
So
thought that was very well done. I like literally I like everything about Frozen except Elsa. I should be very clear. The
that's
movie
like the
itself is
funniest thing to
fine
say.
except Elsa.
That's like saying like I like everything about Moana except the island or Tafiti or Maui, like one of the most major characters.
Yeah, I think if you were to say except Maui or except Moana, like those are the two that would make sense there, right? If you're trying to compare. But no, everything about Frozen I like except Elsa. Elsa just drives me fucking crazy. Elsa is this she's this privileged kid who gets to screw things up and hurt people and then run away from her mistakes and not answer for them for years and years and years. In
Oh
a lot of
man,
ways, that's what she is.
that is so messed up. That is not her at all. She is a I'll give you privileged kid. I mean, that much is obvious,
She's living
but
in a real ivory tower, not the fake one that we
yeah,
get about Doug growing up in.
she's literally living in a real ivory tower. But she is a privileged kid who got a really what most people would consider a curse. I mean, there's plenty of other tropes in a lot of other superhero movies. I mean, Spider-Man and stuff like that, for example, where they don't like their power, they wish they didn't have their power. I mean, Hulk spends half of his time trying to get rid of the power.
Yeah.
So she's got this sort of curse dropped on her, which at first seems like a fun thing, but turns out that it can actually hurt people. And I think Elsa does a very human response by trying to shut herself out. I mean, a natural human reaction to something that's dangerous is just to try to avoid it altogether.
Yeah, but I don't want a human response out of an alleged hero. I want a hero response. I want her to struggle with it and learn to master it and learn to control it because that is what makes you a hero. Struggling and failing and struggling and failing and struggling and failing and then persevering and struggling and succeeding. And that's not the path that Elsa takes. And that's what bothers me. If you're going to be
Well,
a heroine,
the
you need to.
persevering part is not. You're right, but she is struggling and failing constantly, and she learns in the movie when she thinks she ran away to the mountain to get herself away from everybody, and Anna shows up and says, "No, dude, it's winter everywhere." And she's shocked at that. She realizes she can't actually run away from the problems.
Well, not
But
yet,
then,
she doesn't. She
well,
still doesn't
no.
answer. She kicks Anna out. She hits her with a snow bolt, and Marshmallow throws her out the castle,
Well,
and she's injured and has to go back to the trolls again.
well,
Like,
the
she
heart
does the
strike,
same
the heart.
exact thing she did as a kid.
No, the heart strike was actually unintentional if you watch the little duet thing. But what also happens is that before she even has a chance to even come to the realization that she needs to fix stuff, Hans shows up and she has to defend herself and she gets knocked out and all that too. And she actually makes the very specific point to not kill the guards who are attacking her because she has one of them dead to rights
Oh yeah.
with the spike on his neck and all that too. So, but I think that's where Disney tried to break that proverbial trope was on or Elsa does eventually learn how to control her power and realize that, she can use it for good and all that stuff. But she does it basically through Anna. Anna is the one that forces the issue, and someone who is not magical at all, who just has the love for her sister, is able to actually do that.
We
So,
agree Anna's the best character, at least. I'm good
well,
with that.
yeah, but that's a different Disney trope where Anna is doing the hardest thing. Elsa persevering and figuring this out would not be nearly as insurmountable as what Anna had to go through. And Anna did it in the face of literal death, even when she knew she was going to. So I think that's the lesson there is that well, like most heroes, if the best heroes are not the most invincible,
Oh, agree
really.
100%.
So I think that's part of this too, is that Elsa very much needed her sister, and that's the point.
Yeah.
Both
I
good
don't know.
movies.
Yeah, I disagree. I don't like Frozen, but again, it's only because of Elsa.
But
It doesn't have the monomyth involved, and so she's not a well executed hero, and I just don't care
But
for it.
she's not that's the point. She's not a hero. Anna's a hero. I don't think that it was if they made that movie to make Elsa a hero, then they did a real shit job if that was
Yeah,
their goal.
yeah, agreed.
What
100% agree.
watching the movie, I don't think that was the goal at all. I think watching the movie, the whole point was to make Anna the hero. Even if they thought Elsa would be interpreted as the main character, they obviously did not mean to make her the hero.
I think Anna was the hero by accident. I don't think that was their intent. I agree that she's the hero in the movie, but I
So what
don't
they
think
made the movie and then they were like, shit,
I think they made the movie
damn
and
it.
probably realized as they were going, oh, this isn't what we thought it was about. That happens all the time. All the time with stories and with movies and with films. You know, you start working on something, and if you're true to your characters,
Yeah. Then
you realize that where you
sometimes
thought something was going is not where
it
it went.
can't go that way. Yeah.
Right. The story's not actually about what you thought it was. You know, that happens all the time.
I
But
mean, let's
we'll agree. Anna's fantastic and a great character.
yeah.
I 100% agree with that.
You know what? We should spend an episode just ranting about Disney movies because do not get me started on the fairies and Sleeping Beauty. Those idiots fuck all sorts of shit up. And
Yeah. Those are
talk
dumbasses.
talk about gloating right when you reach the finish line. Oh, it's the last day. Let's just fuck up everything. Use magic
We should do a
everywhere.
watch party with those. That's
We
what we should
spent
do.
we spent 16 fucking years hiding
Uh,
Aurora in the woods, and then the day of we're just like, fuck it. Let's just not wait another 8 hours. Jesus. Oh shit, we done fucked up, Aaron. Let's put everyone to sleep, and maybe, if we're lucky, we'll get to wake them back up again. God forbid.
yeah,
I
pretty
watched
bad.
that movie again now as an adult, and I was like, wow, these people are fucking morons.
All right, let's do dad jokes.
What a
Let's get out of
terrible
here.
movie.
We're no longer keeping this short. We're gonna rant about all the Disney movies if we keep going.
Oh my God. Okay. Well,
Next time we're gonna talk about life and death,
no.
and this
Oh
time we're just
no.
gonna tell dad jokes.
We've already done that.
I've got a more
Really?
interesting take on it, and
All right.
it's I've been reading about the a lot of different things, but like the Archimedes in Greece and Rome have me absolutely fascinated, and then Ghana's coffin dancers is kind of where I went to after that, and just there are a lot of very interesting rituals about death and about celebrating life, and I think we should take some time and talk about them. If not, I'll do an odd. That's fine. I can do that
Okay.
too.
All right. Well, I decided because it's NFL draft night that I'm not watching to pick a football joke or two.
Like it. I went with Easter jokes, so I'm excited to have some
Ah,
football jokes.
what did the wide receiver say to the football?
What did the wide receiver say to the football?
Catch you later.
That's pretty good. Yeah,
No.
that's good. What's the difference between a male and a female chocolate Easter bunny?
Wow. One is cream filled.
No, that would have worked too. I like that, but that's
I
not the
don't.
answer I had in mind.
I don't know what.
About a quarter inch of chocolate.
I
I'm gonna give you full credit for your
was gonna
answer, though.
say,
That was good.
no, the nerd in me is trying to figure out how big the rest of the bunnies
You're
are.
trying to do the
Just
ratio.
right.
Is that to scale? Let's
Right.
see.
Let's see. That's a really big fucking bunny. Okay, non-football joke. Just to warn you for this. What do a tick and the Eiffel Tower have in common?
Nick and the Nick
A
Tower.
tick, like a
Ooh,
wood tick, like in the
like a
woods.
bug. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
like the one that sucks your blood.
Ah. Wow, I'm gonna go 0 for 2. I don't know. What's the difference between what do a tick and the Eiffel Tower have in common?
They're both Paris sites.
Nice. That's a good one.
Thank you.
That's a B plus A minus range joke. I like
Oh
that one.
man,
Yeah,
wow!
that's
I
good.
got I got into the A range.
Yeah, I like that one. That was
Man,
good.
dang. All right, good.
What do you call someone who isn't sure if the Easter Bunny is real?
Someone who isn't sure if the Easter Bunny is real.
Mhm.
See, I'm trying to figure out a pun with eggs, like not extravagant. I don't know because I'm gonna have too much dead air. Like I feel like I could eventually get there if I gave it 5 minutes.
An agnostic.
Ah, damn it.
Yeah, you'd have gotten there
Yeah.
eventually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. I'm back to football jokes, but this is all I got. I did my 3 tonight and I'm done.
Okay, me too.
What happens to football players who go blind?
They play touch football.
Hmm. Oh, that's a good answer, actually. They become referees.
That's better. Yes, that's good.
I liked it. I saw it and I'm like, I have to remember this one.
That is good. I
Yeah.
like that. All right, and I've decided I'm going to bring a hamster joke every week now.
Damn it.
I'm going to have one of those every week.
You are a sick person.
So, I mean, they're not all going to be as effective as that one because it's just hard to top the hamster with the duct tape. But I've decided that
It
I
sounds
have to
like
have.
you were topping the hamster with duct tape.
I figure I have to bring something of a similar vein every week. So, why does the Easter Bunny hide its eggs?
This is a hamster joke?
It's not about hamsters. It's equivalent to the hamster duct tape joke. I'm going to keep one in that vein every week.
Because
We're going
other
crass and crude. I'm going to
because,
have one of those every week.
because the alternative is abortion.
No, but that's not terrible because it doesn't want anyone to know it's being fucked by a chicken. I'm getting the good laugh from Doug with his new
Not a
haircut. It makes me happy.
not a rooster, a chicken.
I guess I probably should change that to rooster. Yeah.
I just can't. Like some of these punchlines, I'm just like,
Well, we're splitting hairs on this one. I mean,
well, just hop along, dude. All right, let's leave. I still have more work to do tonight.
it is time for bed. Poor Doug's got a reading for me to do and some editing work to do to put my apology into the beginning of episode 59. I'm leaving him with work.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm talking about appraisal work tonight. I
Oh,
gotta
I
do
can't help
that.
you with
So
that
I'll
then.
do more editing. I don't know when. Tomorrow,
Ah,
hopefully.
that's fair.
So yeah. All
So the
right.
episode will be released Maybe a weekend release. Ooh, we haven't done that yet.
Fancy pants.
Fancy pants. All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. We are sorry for taking you down the Disney road. Hopefully, you
Rolled.
can just
I like
let it
rolled.
go and, yep, enjoy the rest of the content. We will talk to you guys again real soon. Happy Easter. Happy birthday, Charles. Dad homework. Don't freeze the kingdom and run away and hide.
Just save a hamster.
Save a hamster. That's not a bad one. Yeah, okay. Save a hamster. All right. We appreciate you guys. Thank you for listening. Go, Dad, go.